In the gospel of this day, we have this one-liner which reverberates throughout the centuries. New wine, new wineskins. Way back in the mid-80s in France, one saw what that could mean. There was a plethora of new congregations coming out of the renewal, but this was something which couldn't be explained in human terms. It was a spontaneous springing up of new places of prayer, new modalities, but for the most part, though completely renewed, anchored in ancient tradition. Adoration, fasting, of which this gospel speaks, the rosary, but completely revivified and made electrified with all the gifts of the Spirit intertwined, and liturgy, oftentimes of an orthodox nature, that is to say, with borrowings from the East, and therefore with young voices they were able to create beauty on earth, parallel and similar to that of the angels in heaven, and taking on much of the ancient tradition of the Church, such as long liturgy, polyphony, the use of the body to the full. They were able to suggest, with the best of human means, what it was to launch into an experience of complete renewal. This is something that left a lasting effect on those who experienced it. One couldn't doubt the power of the Spirit at work, notably when it came to miracles and the gifts of the Spirit. They were not false. Prophecy, the word of knowledge, and these miracles of healing and the like. One saw there that what was happening was that when the Holy Spirit found an open channel, an open heart, he was more generous than those on the other side. He did not let himself be outdone in generosity. And so there was this phenomenon. Of course, the enemy was aware of its power and tried his best to destroy, and in some cases things did not go well. Nevertheless, out of all that, there are things which have continued and still have an effect. One notices a pattern now, for instance, that quite a few monasteries, when they die, are handed over to some of these communities. One would be the Chemin Neuf. They do well, and wherever they go, beauty follows. And it is the same Spirit, ever old and ever new, who is there. In our own experience in Wales, where actually they made a foundation of the Beatitude, still called the Line of Judah in those days, not far from Cardigan, T. Dewi South, the house of St. David. Welsh language and culture in action. They were able to harness the best of the new and the old, although alas, it didn't last. But nevertheless, it was taken on board by the local bishop, who was himself Welsh-speaking, who wanted to take that risk, knowing what it meant to have something pneumatic in Wales, the land which had seen so many hurricanes of the Holy Spirit. And there one felt, this is power. There is a risk that we can get stuck in our comfort zone and not want to move from what is familiar. It is interesting to see that actually in France there was, along with a lot of loss of Christian practice, an element of genuine wanting to renew what was actually there, and that also left an impression. Whereas in Ireland the tendency was to maintain the low Mass, and not to sing except perhaps hymns in that celebration. In France, there was a genuine working at liturgy, making of the whole celebration an event, and reducing the number of celebrations but making the quality that much higher. I noticed there in the 70s and 80s in France that one would not find a Saturday or Sunday celebration which lasted for less than an hour and wasn't fully sung, in which the harmony lasted less than at least a quarter of an hour, well prepared. And the lay people, that sleeping giant, were taken on board as active elements of renewal. It is easy to lament the loss of things, but there needs to be a certain also collaboration with what perhaps the Spirit is nudging and wanting. The problem is oftentimes ourselves. We are stuck. And so it is that we push away the grace. In our own times we do see that Spirit moving and creating new families. We have in Ireland families like the Home of the Mother, which draws young people based on the best of the old and the new, something of that again. And the Lord blesses and honours what honours him. The grace to be asked for, true renewal in the Spirit.